Forget promotions. In today's workforce, the rules of success have completely changed. If you're still measuring progress by titles and ranks, you are already behind. In today's topic, we'll be talking a little bit about the workforce and just how promotions are no longer the thing that really drives everybody to push themselves forward. Yes, it used to be the thing. It used to be that one thing that really drove you to success, but success has just really been defined differently now, and we have got to get ahead of it. If you're new to the channel, my name is Matt with Elevating Yourself. I am excited to talk to you about this topic. I come with about 20 years of leadership experience, and I'm always looking to better myself, and I'm wanting to help those around me better themselves as well. And so I think this topic today will be a great one for us to dig into. So we'll be talking a little bit today about the work-life balance. We'll be going over the gig economy and just about financial flexibility. And then we'll be looking at how do we redefine success? What does that look like for you? And then we'll finish off with talking about the employers. What happens from this standpoint once all of these changes have kind of set in? What does that mean for them? So first up is work-life balance. Now, I'm sure you've heard of work-life balance. A lot of times it means when do I work versus when I don't work. And that's not really what we're getting into in this capacity. For this topic, what we're talking about is what does that mean for most individuals when it comes to a work-life balance? In today's society, more people are looking for a job that allows them the flexibility to really do the things that they want to be able to do, all the while staying employed and getting a paycheck. Now, that's not meaning that they just want to collect a random paycheck and not really give an effort into their job, but the prize of promotion is no longer there to give them that boost to really succeed in their job. Most of the time, people are looking to just be able to succeed in their current role so that they can get on to doing the things that they really love. And with work-life balance, I think the biggest thing that's contributed to this is the remote working environment. Since COVID came through, we have seen an influx in remote jobs. And lately, it seems like a lot of employers are starting to bring those jobs back into the office. I'm sure you've probably heard some of the things that have gone over in the news with Dell bringing back their employees, and now Amazon recently coming in and bringing their employees back into the office. Specifically with the Dell, it was interesting because the people that wanted to stay home, Dell actually came out and said, if you want to stay home, that's fine, but we're not going to be able to offer you any type of promotions. And most of the people that were working from home were like, that's cool, I'll stay at home. And that, I think, should be the shift that employers should be looking at. And that's some of the things that we'll look at later in the video. But that type of mentality is really what is going on in today's workforce. Now, I get it. From an employer standpoint, remote work can be a little bit scary because there's a lot of times where you start thinking, are the people that are working at home actually working? And I'm sure many of you have probably seen videos out there that show how do you get around people thinking that you're working, and they have those mouse scroll wheel type of devices that keep your mouse moving or that keep you logged in. Yes, I think those areas need to be addressed, but I don't think that is the case in the grand scheme of things. But again, I know that there's not every job out there that can be remote. And there is a lot of skepticism that comes with remote working because of that small portion of the workforce that just doesn't want to work. They just want to be able to collect a paycheck and pretend like they're working and then move on. I don't think that is the grand scheme of it though. And so when I think about remote workforce, I'm looking at specific jobs that realistically don't need to be going into the office for. And again, there are some situations where it is necessary. There's a lot of companies out there that have privacy concerns. And so when you're working from a remote environment, it potentially could be detrimental to your business to have those remote workforces in place. And so I get that. But that doesn't mean that the work in general can be done at home. I think when you've got situations like that occur where you may have to bring people into the office, I think more people will be more apt to come into the office every so often. And I'm not talking routinely, like once a week or 3 times a week or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about just as needed, once a month, whenever the group needs to get together to talk about something that may not be pertinent over a webcam or over Zoom or whatever software you're looking at. There's been a lot of talk lately of lumping kind of the remote workforce environment into everything, and that's not what we're talking about. I understand that from a business standpoint, there are a lot of companies out there that have office spaces that are really unoccupied and they're being unused. And so that is a huge cost for them. But is filling the seats to fill the seats the answer for that? Or could you potentially be looking at other avenues to potentially use that workspace? And again, you might have to get creative with it. Who knows what that might look like? But forcing people back into the workforce so they come into the office just doesn't seem like a healthy way of working. And again, when you've got your employees telling you they vastly enjoy working from home and you think bringing them in is going to be a necessity and you're going to get that same happiness, I think you might be in for a rude awakening. And this type of work-life balance is exactly what we're looking at and needing in our society today. We are tired of an environment where toxic employees and employers exist, where dissatisfaction is high, where burnout is extremely high because everyone has just run so hard until they can't work anymore, or until they have mental breaks, or they just cannot work physically. It's a dangerous thing to be in. And again, yes, the workforce has changed from 50 to 60 years ago, where people were working at the same place year over year over year because that's just what they did. And I don't think that we look at promotions the same way either when it comes to that too. I don't fully understand promotions, at least in the more conventional way of looking at it. And when I say conventional way of looking at it, I'm talking about I'm in my current position and I'm in the same company and I want to get a promotion to the next position. And then I want to get a promotion to the next position. The crazy thing about that is in most environments, you're talking years before you can make that jump up. And even in some instances, you have to wait till either more positions are created, which in this economy is probably not going to happen too much, or you have to wait until somebody gets promoted out as well or leaves the company that leaves that space vacant that you can get promoted into it. And then when that happens, what is it worth it to you? I would say in most instances, when you get promoted, unless you're getting very big promotions, you're probably only getting a very small increase in salary, but typically you're getting a much larger increase in job responsibility. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. In fact, when I look for promotions, I actually like to see a little bit more responsibility because that lets me grow. It lets me drive in my own. But I don't think that that's what everyone's drive is anymore. And again, that's not to say that I don't have different drives either. In fact, when I'm looking at my own success, I'm trying to look at what does it mean for me? Do I want a higher title, or am I looking at just being satisfied in my current position and then looking at what other avenues I can look at to make myself happy? And I think more times than not, you're going to find that is the case. People just don't want to be promoted. They want to look at the security of their job and then what they can do or what they can use to put that into something else that really fulfills their gaps in their life. And that's where I think promotions don't really fill the gap. Now, there are promotions out there that exist that people are still looking for, but in most instances, from what I've seen, they're leapfrogging into a different company, into a different position. And so they're utilizing the skills that they currently have to get a better position at a different company. And I have seen people move from company to company to company to get a tremendous salary increase because, again, companies that are bringing people on tend to pay a little bit better. And so instead of getting this 4 to 5% incremental increase in your salary, you're getting a 20 to 25% increase, depending on where you're going, even some places more of that. And that is more satisfying. And again, like you could say, well, you don't know what companies you're going to. You don't know if it's going to be a good place to work. I get it. That could be the case. But again, we go back to that same thought process of, is that really what I'm caring about? Not saying that I want to work in a toxic environment, but if I'm getting a pay increase that is satisfying to me and allows me to live a different life or the life I want to live, then maybe I might put up with something a little bit more. And again, I'm not saying put up with things that are unethical or immoral. I'm talking about, you know what? I might have a crappy boss. I can come in and do this 9 to 5 job because I know that when I get off of work, I can go do the things I really want to do. And this job allows me to do that. And so that's really where's the drive when it comes to these types of thought processes. I'd be curious to know if you've noticed a change in your own work or your own career. Like, what is it that really is driving you to push yourselves forward? Are you looking for other opportunities out there, or are you looking for additional opportunities out there? And when I say additional opportunities, are you looking for things that you can do that allow you to be more of yourself and drive your own successes and passions alongside your job. And I think about this YouTube channel and what I'm doing with it. This is obviously not my full-time job, but it's something I thoroughly enjoy. It allows me to get in front of people and talk to people about really what I feel passionate about. And not only that, but I get to work with cool technology like cameras and computers and video editing and things like that, which I really am interested in. And again, that's where my success comes in. It's not about millions and millions of views. It's about my ability to share my knowledge and passion with you and also get to play with toys, which is not a bad thing either. So next, let's talk about the gig economy. Now, when I first heard about the gig economy, honestly, I was a little bit taken back because it was new terminology for me and I really wasn't quite sure what that meant. I'm a very big technology person, and so when I heard gig economy, I'm thinking 1,000 economies. Like, is that what that's talking about? But no, when we talk about gig economy, people are getting into the smaller pieces of their jobs that allow them to take on just gigs one at a time or several at a time, but they don't rely on an actual 9 to 5 job that they're doing. And there's been a lot of advances when it comes to the gig economy over the years. I'm sure many of you out there have probably even tried some of it. When you think about Uber, when you think about the DoorDash, those types of situations are a piece of the gig economy. They allow people to make some extra income without really having to worry about having a boss or a 9 to 5 job. They can just pick up when they want to, do the things that they want to do, and then get out of it. And again, we look at about YouTube channels. It's another piece of the gig economy. We're doing this on a part-time basis. This is not something we do full-time. And so we do it in between the normalities of our lives. And so this allows us the flexibility because I'm not required to post any videos. I do it when I have time and also when I have topics and when I have the ability to jump in and record videos and edit them. And I think the great thing about the gig economy is it really does allow people to enhance their own skills. And I would be curious to know what all of you have done as far as gig economy progressions. What sorts of things have you been dabbling into to get maybe not necessarily additional paychecks, but maybe some additional experience? And I think that's what we have to look at too, is where do we see the value? Is value to you being able to make more money? Or is value to you being able to express yourself, being able to try new things, learn new skills, share thoughts, share ideas, and really just kind of be in touch with a different part of yourself that really isn't what you're able to do in a more 9 to 5 perspective? And yes, I get it. Like, thinking about a gig economy, it can be kind of scary, especially if you're solely relying on it, because those types of positions don't really have a steady income all the time. I'm not saying that it can't have a steady income, but it is more unreliable, which can sometimes be a little bit scary for people, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think when you're getting into situations like this, it's going to be a little bit scary. And I would recommend to anybody that is feeling a little bit of anxiety when it comes to, should I try something new? I will say yes, you definitely should try something new, if only for the experience of trying it. Even if it fails, I think you're going to be a better person at the other side of that, because it's going to allow you to look into yourself a little bit differently. And maybe you'll find something in there that you didn't expect and you can actually grow from it. And I think that's where this comes into this financial flexibility standpoint. This allows us to be a lot more financially flexible. And flexible is a very loose term, obviously. And I've heard a lot of people talk about financially free, and they want to look at stuff that allows them to not work anymore or have more of a passive income. I wouldn't necessarily say that is the case for most people. I think when we think about financial freedom, I don't look at it as I don't have to work for my income. I look at it as I get to do what I really love all the time, and I also get to make a little money on the side. And again, at the end of the day, it's not always going to be this side gig that gives me that fulfillment. I might still need another job in order to pay the bills. And I'm cool with that, because I will live in those confines when I need to and collect that paycheck and then not have to worry about, am I climbing a corporate ladder? No, I'm doing my job. I'm doing the things that are required to me. And from that point forward, I can go do the things that I love, that I fully enjoy. And that, I think, is where that completion comes into it. You're not going to get that completion all the time with a job. And again, if you have your dream job, my hat is off to you. I'm excited for you. I want that to be the case for everybody. But I think in a more realistic thinking, it's not going to be what everybody falls into. They're going to have that job that they have, and they're going to have those dreams that they're trying to chase. And I want you to continue to chase them. Trust me, I think there is far more success chasing a dream that maybe never pans out than it is just to be looking at a dream pass you by. I don't think that's where anybody wants to be. And so please go out there, grab your dream and chase it as hard as you possibly can. You just never know where it's going to take you. And you might find out that that wasn't the actual dream that you're chasing, and it actually led you to something else that made your life better. So continue to push yourselves forward. And so let's talk about redefining the word success. We've talked a little bit about it already, but I think it's important for all of us to be thinking about that every single day. Success doesn't have to mean I've reached this title. And if that is what your mentality is right now, and that's fine for you, please continue to look at that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for those of you out there that are struggling in your current roles because you're getting passed up, because you're being overworked, because you feel burnt out by doing the same thing day over day, that is where I think redefining your own success can really help you get out of these ruts. And then finally, what does this mean for employers? Well, I think employers have a little bit of planning to do. It is not going to be an easy road for employers, because I think what they're going to start finding is that more and more people aren't nearly as motivated to do more work. And again, that's not to say that there are those people out there that don't thrive in a very frustrating environment or feel challenged in those types of environments. I just don't think that's going to be the case for very much longer. And I start to think about more and more of these people getting into this gig type mentality and start doing things on the side and really just be focusing on that and then coming in and doing their job and getting it done. And so when you have that type of environment, I think employers are going to find that people aren't maybe as highly motivated, or maybe aren't focused to give them 150%. And again, I've seen videos out there that talk about we're only hiring people that are in it to win it, that no holds barred, they're just going to just kill it every single day. You know what? If you find those people, bless your heart. You know what? Great. I'm sure that there's people out there. I'm the same. I mean, I want to kill it. In every single position, in every single job that I have had, I have gone at it with a lot of tenacity. But I tell you, it's as of recent that I've almost not felt burnt out at my job, but burnt out about giving so much and not seeing any benefits in return. And again, I don't necessarily think of a benefit as a paycheck, a bonus, things of that nature. I'm talking about just gratitude. And that's where I think most leaders fall flat on their face, and most employers fall flat on their face, because they're not even giving the gratitude to their employees that is necessary in order to keep them motivated. They're not willing to go out there and say thank you. Most of the time it's like a, hey, thanks for doing that, but I need you to do it a little bit faster and a little bit harder, or I need you to do it a little bit more, and I need you to give me more outputs. You know, whatever the case may be. But that it's never just a thanks for doing that. It's something that we really needed, and you really made a difference in our lives, and we appreciate it. Those types of sentiments can really make a difference in people's lives. And so if you're watching this and that's you not doing that, please do me a favor. Turn to your employees this week and give them a pat on the back. And I'm not talking just a derogatory, like, great job, thank you very much. I'm talking about going out there and really looking at the work that people are doing and thanking them each and every day for the hard work that they put in for them. Because that right there can make such a difference in people's lives. And for employers, I think it's just about what really is motivating your people. You're going to find that the carrot is no longer going to be dangling from that stick anymore. And you're going to have to find other ways other than promotions to really be able to benefit them. And it's going to be a challenge. It really will be. And then I think employers need to be cautious. If they are not looking at their current workforce, when the economy gets better, you're going to see a lot of people start jumping ship to either different companies or just jumping ship altogether. And I don't think employers need to really worry that the people that they have working for them aren't going to do the jobs that they have currently. Yes, it's something that may occur in a very small percentage of employees, but for the most part, I think that people do the right thing for the right reasons. And yes, you have to be cautious a little bit about the people that work from a remote workforce. Are they really working? But again, we have to kind of think, is it more task oriented that they can do? And so they don't really need to do that from 9 to 5. They can really just do it whenever. And then when they're done, they're done. They don't have to work at that for the rest of the day. I don't know. I think every job is going to be a little bit different. Every employer is going to be a little bit different. But I think it gives us the opportunity to really kind of look a little more closely at, really what we're needing from our employees going forward. Thanks for watching today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to see what happens in the future. I know it's a little bit scary. And again, there is some anxiety that occurs, but that's okay. It's okay to be a little bit anxious. I think that the changes that are going to be coming down the pipeline are going to be good changes for everybody. But I think it's important for us then to be thinking about, what does success mean to me? What is my work-life balance? Where am I seeing that fulfillment come into? I know that we all have bills to pay, and I know that we need money in order to sustain our life. But I think it's also important to be thinking about, what are some cuts that potentially we can make maybe in our life? Are those subscriptions really necessary? And again, I'm not saying that you need to cut everything out of your life. I think you have to be thinking about where you also see joy from and where you can get that release. People have talked about like canceling all your subscriptions. You could save X number of money, or I'm sure you've probably heard situations come up where people are like, if you didn't drink Starbucks once a day, you would have X number of money that you can invest. Yes, that's true. But what they don't tell you is that cup of coffee that you take from Starbucks is one of the things that brings you joy into your life. And there's nothing wrong with that. And again, I'm not saying like you could invest maybe in a coffee machine and save some money, but I love the coffee machine that I have. And I still go out to Starbucks every once in a while because you know what? It's nice not to have to sit down and make a cup of coffee and I can get it from somebody else. Nothing wrong with that. So again, think about what your future looks like. Think about what it is that brings that fulfillment every single day. Look at the job that you currently have. Look at what you can do differently to bring that success someplace else if necessary. I believe each and every one of us can be successful because success is going to be defined by you, not anybody else. And don't forget to check out a couple of other videos that I've got posted right now. I'm excited to be able to share my thoughts and opinions with the group. And I think these areas are also very beneficial to this kind of same topic or same thought process. So give it a listen. Let me know your thoughts. And remember, elevating yourself to the next level starts with just a single step. I want you to take that step today. Thanks. We'll see you next time.